How I maintain single digit body fat without spending hours in the gym. But first, let's hear a backstory about me. So I started my fitness journey in 2019. I was severely underweight and I was suffering from being small. My mentality suffered from being skinny, which led me down a spiral of negative thinking. So in this photo, I actually weighed about 110 pounds. I was underweight, I didn't have any confidence in myself, and nobody respected me. During this time frame, I lived in this mental bubble in my head, and I was so negative. I was depressed. I had anxiety. I was overwritten with anxiety. All right. No, I didn't respect myself. Okay. And that led to a lot of self conscious issues. I was very insecure. Okay. It led me not getting out of my comfort zone, no girls, no nothing at all. And it was a very struggling point for me in my life. And not only did I appear small, but I felt it as well. No one had respect for me. I truly lacked confidence in myself. How can I expect people to believe in me or respect me if I didn't even respect myself? So essentially, what changed in my life was not the physical, it was a mental change. I changed my mentality first, which led me outside of that bubble. And then I overcame my struggles physically by building that confidence. And I built that respect for myself. So essentially, who is this video for? If you're ready to change your physique and you aren't happy with the man you see in the mirror, but you know you're capable of more, this is for you. If you are 100% committed to putting in that time and effort to transform your physique because you understand that there's no easy way out, this is for you. And finally, if you are willing to implement this program and stay consistent with fitness because it's a lifestyle and not a quick fix, this is for you. Okay? It's essentially, I look at it like this. As a man, it's your job to provide. It's your job as a role model. You know, if you have kids, your family, people are going to look up to you as the man. And if they don't respect you, what type of leadership are you showing in your household or in your social group? If that's your peers, your social circle with your friends or your family, you know? And it's something that when they look up to you, how do you want them to see you? So here's the truth. You don't need to spend hours in the gym training like a bodybuilder and eating chicken and rice 4 times a day to look like the top 1%. There's no need to track every macro to a T, especially if you are busy. Okay. It is truly a waste of time. Okay. You don't need to be tracking everything to a T, making sure everything's right to the perfect macro. Okay. You don't need the most optimized training program with the most optimized recovery after. Okay. It's truly about fitting a schedule that works for you, not against you. Essentially, I preach quality over quantity. Okay. The first pillar, okay, I'm going to show you how my program reforged and how it will completely reform your physique without wasting your time. 100% I preach quality over quantity. Okay. Focusing on frequency training by making sure you're stimulating enough volume and recovery for your sessions. Focusing on a quality 30 to 45-minute long gym sessions per week. Really drilling in that quality and not overdoing the volume. We don't want to overexert ourselves. Okay. Essentially, we want to prioritize enough frequency that is going to give us enough stimulus to make those gains and recover those gains. Okay. Essentially, I see a lot of people that are overdoing it in the gym. Okay. Putting way too much volume on there. It's junk. Okay. Essentially providing sessions with a heavy stimulus, shocking our nervous system, and then deloading it to recover. The goal here is to essentially provide enough stimulus up front, not too much stimulus, so we could still recover, right? While optimally loading it while we're going to gain enough heavy stimulus strength so we could really put on that muscle. Moving forward. How many reps are we doing? How many sets? How much exercises? How much weight? How much intensity is needed? Okay, these are all questions that make up fitness, all right? And how much you do of these factors determine where you land up, okay? What we don't want to do is do 3 to 4 sets per exercise, drop sets, supersets, random amount of weight, okay? We don't want to load the bar with how much, okay? It has to be fixed, okay? You're not eating enough protein, okay? These are all these factors that play into the big 3 pillars of why you are not succeeding. Okay. And that's because you're not incorporating enough volume. Okay. Get rid of the junk. Only stick to two. Stick to that heavy stimulus. There's no reason why you need to be doing 3 to 4 sets with a drop set on there. Okay. Lower the volume, increase the quality. Okay. Quality over quantity. Okay. Making sure we're using that heavy stimulus, which is going to be around 80% of your 1 rep max. Okay. That's going to make sure we can get that heavy quality set that we need to get. Okay. Tracking progressive overload. Okay. Moving forward on that note of heavy lifting, making sure we're tracking set by set, weight by weight, so we can make sure we're progressing going forward. And as well, eating a high protein diet. We're going to be using that through MyFitnessPal. Okay. Lovely app that tracks everything for you. Type in what you ate and knows exactly, it'll spit you out everything you need. Okay. To make sure that you're hitting the enough macros that you need. So how do we utilize this? Okay, we're going to be using an app called Trainerize. This is how we're going to track our workouts, our stats, okay? Reps, sets, weight, blood pressure, everything, okay? Down to how much steps you get, all right? The sleep you get. Everything is going to be tracked in Trainerize to optimally, progressively overload to move forward, okay? Because without tracking, without a journal, there will be no data. There will be nothing to go off of to move forward on. Okay. Really making sure we understand what we're doing day to day to move forward, to make that change going forward. Because again, this is not just a change, this is a whole lifestyle change. Okay. It doesn't just start with the physical, it's the mental, getting outside of that bubble, making sure we're focused subconsciously on our goals. What are we eating? Our choices, right? This app is going to funnel it down so we could really make sure we're tracking everything at a smooth and a progressive pace. So as we can see, we have some client photos here, okay? So essentially, everybody has been killing it the last couple of months, okay? Everybody that you see here is putting on 225 pounds on their bench press, instantly hitting their strength goals, as well, hitting their physique goals. They're putting on the weight they want to put on, okay? For example, client number 1 here, put on 10 pounds in 2 months. Solid pounds of muscle. As well, down here, leaning out, already down multiple fat percentages. Okay? Leaning out while putting on muscle. It's because of that strength stimulus. Adding that heavy stimulus and then optimally recovering it after. Okay? Now, none of these people just decided to wake up one day and change. Okay? You see myself in these photos. I started off small. Okay? I ended up going down a horrible route and dirty bulking. Okay? So that's how I learned my research. So you don't have to. Okay? I did the hard parts. I was small. I was frail. I became big and then I overdid it. I was too big. I was fat. You know what I mean? And cutting that down, right? And then as well, my clients here, as we can see, right, are absolutely killing it. They are progressing, right? Because they're using the app. They're progressing and they're moving forward with their weight and their sets using progressive overload, right? I'm going to derail from this topic right here. I'm going to move on to another topic. So essentially, what these people did was, again, not a physical change in the beginning. It was a mental change. They were tired of the same process over and over and over again. It's a circular process. And I bet you guys can relate to that as well. It's a never ending, you see some progress and then you retract. Essentially, you take a foot forward, but you might end up taking 2 steps back. And essentially, moving away from that is going to be the biggest mind opener. Getting outside of that bubble is what we need to do. Make that mental change first. Showing enough confidence in ourselves to respect ourselves. Because at the end of the day, nobody and nothing is going to happen unless you respect yourself first. And once that happens, once you can get yourself out of that mental bubble, and if it's anxiety, if it's depression that's holding you back, like myself, when I suffered from that, that was holding me back. I didn't want to go to the gym. I was too insecure. People were bigger than me, okay? I didn't want to get outside my comfort zone by getting on a camera, or I didn't want to it's about starting. It's about making that first step, okay? And not taking that step back. Being confident in that first step when you lay it out, okay? Because once you make that change, your mentality changes all around. Sticking to it and having discipline with consistency, making sure we are consistently taking that extra step forward. That's what's going to make us progress. And essentially over time, having that discipline and building it and building it and building it, you're going to be a whole different person. You're not going to recognize yourself now. It's a whole lifestyle change. Again, it's not a physical change. It's a mental change. You mentally change yourself. It's a lifestyle change. And you move into the physical after. And then once you become that person you want to be mentally and that you need to be mentally, the physical will follow. Okay? So essentially what I'm trying to get across here is, people like Mike himself, okay? This is another one of my clients. They are progressing at such a fast rate. Now he is an older gentleman himself, but he's gaining that stability. Okay. He took that first mental block, all right, and he overcame it. Okay. We talked about this all the time. In the beginning, all right, he was very, he didn't want to join right away, right? He was self-conscious about it, didn't want to make that jump, right? Which is normal. Exactly how I was in his shoes. But then moving forward, getting out of that circle, because it's going to keep on continuing, making that change, now a lot of changes have came. You know what I'm saying? So essentially, moving forward on that note, I just want to go into more detail about the mental change. So that kid back in the day, if I were to be talking to him, okay, he was depressed, anxiety ridden, okay? He had no outlet. He had nowhere to go, all right? Making that change starts with the mental, becomes a lifestyle, and then everything changes from there. I don't suffer from what I used to. I simply don't suffer. I'm happy. I'm confident. I respect myself. God bless. And that is what it's about. You know what I mean? Making that change and sticking to it. If you'd love to chat more, I'd love to get back to you. Use my Calendly link down below, and I'd love to chat.